Are you a teenager whose parents always tell you ऐसे मत बैठो, ये मत पहनो, ये मत करो, यहाँ मत जाओ, phone पे मत खेलो? Are you one of those? Or are you a parent of a teenager who's already frustrated क्योंकि बच्चे सुनते ही नहीं हैं? We don't know what to do with them. In either of the case, you are at the right place because today in this masterclass, you're going to have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Sharmila Anand and her daughter Ashlie Anand, who are together going to come here to inspire us and make us understand the art of parenting. So modern day, modern problems require modern solutions, and that's exactly why we have them here today. So make sure to watch this video till the end. So hello dosto, namaste. My name is Abhay Valsangkar. I'm a confidence coach, and I welcome you to yet another episode of this masterclass. And today, trust me, it's going to be casual, it's going to be fun, and we're going to learn a lot because today we have someone who's very, very special. Together, they are the mother and the duo of a daughter. We call them as a deadly duo because wherever they go, they set the stage on fire. They are authors of a best-selling book called as I Misunderstood. And to the world, they are a daughter and a mother. But to me, they are best of friends. And that's exactly why we have invited them today on our masterclass to help all the students and to help all the viewers who are watching this to get a little better at parenting. So if you're ready and if you're live, if you're watching this, then just go ahead and type your name and where you are from in the comments so that I know that from which part of India or the world you're currently watching this. So let us begin and let us welcome Dr. Sharmila Anand and Ashlie to this one particular masterclass. So let me add them quickly to the stream. Okay, so hi Dr. Sharmila and hi Ashlie. How have you been?
Hey, hi everyone. This is Dr. Sharmila.
And this is Ashlie.
And we are the authors of the book,
I Misunderstood.
Oh, Abhay, thank you so much for having us here. We are absolutely excited to be sharing our journey and having a lot of fun with all of you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's superb. That's excellent. We already have few viewers joining in. We have Namrata, who's from Entrepreneur Excel, and this entire program of masterclass we have partnered with Entrepreneur Excel. So thank you, Namrata, for being there. We have Archit, who has also joined in. So thank you, Archit, for being there. And we also have Shushma, who has joined in. So thank you so much, Shushma, for being there too. So I'll keep taking a few names as and when we go ahead. So first things first, I'll address you as Ashlie and Sharmila. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Awesome.
Absolutely great, because I know you as friends, and I know that if I try to put today we have a guest of honor, you will be like,
Yeah, no.
So that's what we'll do. So before we begin with the questions and understanding the art of modern day parenting, and as you say, parenting, let me quickly ask you: can you tell something about yourself in terms of your journey? How has it been? How has it been for Ashlie? How has it been for you? And then we can go ahead with the questions. So yes, please go ahead. The stage is all yours.
Super.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi everyone. This is Dr. Sharmila again. I'm a medical doctor. I run multiple companies and help young children become young leaders. I've also traveled across the world and addressed a lot of gatherings as a woman entrepreneur, and more importantly, as a person who just wants to help you bring your voice out. More than anything, the one role that I actually love playing is the role of a work in progress mother to this amazing young lady, Ashlie, sitting here. So over to you, ma'am.
Okay, guys. So I think before we get started, one thing that we get a lot is a lot of people don't really realize that we're a mother and daughter duo. A lot of people think that we're sisters, and every time someone says that, it makes my mom's day. But basically, I'm Ashlie, I'm 16 years old, and I absolutely love running this initiative called Parenting along with my mother. Our mission is to spread 1 million smiles on the faces of parents and kids all across the world, and especially in India, because confidence and just being yourself is so important. And I used to struggle with that as a kid, and public speaking and having a good relationship with my mother after that has changed my life so much. So I'm super excited to be meeting all of you today. And
Yep.
Wow, that's absolutely great. I love the energy that you bring. And as a duo, as I said, you're deadly. I've met you in person, and the energy that you carry, it's great. So for all the viewers, as she said, it's difficult to believe that they are a mother and a daughter duo, but they are, and they have lots and lots of stuff which they have done, which even people who have a lot of experience would never get a chance. So when I see Ashley, she is 16 and I've known her for the last 3 to 4 years now. And even before anybody would dare to talk in front of a classroom, she was standing in front of a crowd of 1,000 people and she was actually training them. So I think that's absolutely great. So to begin with this, the whole idea of parenting, can you explain the viewers who are watching this now live and also later who will, that we all know what is parenting, but what is parenting? Can you share a little information about that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna have fun here. Okay, I am a single mom, and I had to work multiple jobs just to handle, take care of home as well as keep my passion up. And that was a time Ashley turned into a preteen, and we had the worst relationship. I mean,
So bad.
it was just
crazy.
It was crazy, and I used to work 16 hours a day, come back home, and Ashley would be ready to pretty much kill me. That's how.
Ouch.
Yes,
But it's true. Honestly, I think there was a time where we couldn't even stand being in the same room together. And like I was a pretty good student for a while, and after that, my education kind of really dipped, and we honestly had the worst relationship possible, and that clearly impacted me as well as my mom.
and we actually hit rock bottom when it was Ashley's parent teacher meeting, and I was there. Her teacher just gave me this really disgusted look and said, your child is dyslexic, she's just not capable of doing anything, and I don't think she's fit to be in this prestigious school. And I was just lost. I started crying.
Yeah, I remember seeing my mom cry, and it was the worst feeling. Okay, I'm sure all of you guys know the feeling of disappointing your parents, and what kind of toll it takes on you. I think that day both of us, we kind of we took this decision together to turn our lives around and just work on our relationship. And both of us, we went back home together, and we first told each other that, hey, the way that we've been treating each other is really bad, but I think something needs to change, and it needs to change fast.
Absolutely. And then we started on this learning journey together and turned the whole thing around.
Yes, and we got to meet amazing people like Abhay along the way, and it's so amazing.
And that's how we started our initiative called Parent Teening, where we help parents and teens, kids especially, try and build amazing relationships together, because at the end of it, we believe when the relationship at home is amazing, they can go on and make our world a better place. So Ashley said, we are on this million smiles journey. Putting that first smile was the most difficult task for us. And when we learned how to create the smiles at home, we started sharing it with the world and are on a mission of creating young leaders. That's what it is. And who better in the journey other than your parent or your child coming together?
Wow.
So that's parenting.
Absolutely great. You have summarized it, the whole word, in a way that everybody could relate to it. We had Tejal who wrote in the comments that it's the same story. We are dealing with children, we are dealing with parents, and every child in the teenage feels that the parent is wrong, and every parent feels that the child is wrong. And somewhere we need to find the middle ground so that they both can go ahead and survive, and then the relationship can grow. So Sharmila, you also mentioned you have a few slides that you would like to share, right? So would you like to do it right now at the beginning?
Sure. Okay, before we go into the slides, I do have one small bit which can actually link where we started, where we are. In between, there's this one quick story that's, somewhere initially when we started, we were pretty much on two opposite teams and literally fighting with one another, trying to get who's better, who's not better. And it was a very, very frustrating place. But after that, when we started having our hot conversations, that, like I like to call it, it's honest and open talk. We went from being on two different teams to the same team, trying and making ourselves a better version of ourselves and going on and achieving a larger purpose. So that's how we started our journey. And now I am happy to share the screen, Abhay, if you could help us with that. So during the lockdown, we started something called as the Public Speaking Mastery. It's a 5-day program where we help young children from the ages of 5 to, I mean, we've had 15 and 50-year-olds also go through the program. And just during the lockdown, we've helped over 8,700 students deliver their first speech.
Yes. And honestly, this means so much to us because I remember I used to have a problem talking to my mother who was in the same house as me. And as kids, I feel like finding your voice is so important. And I know that there are so many kids out there who struggle with bullying, who struggle with just, making a name for themselves and self-confidence, honestly. And I think public speaking is such a cool way to have more confidence in yourself, to really build up yourself in a way where you feel happy and you make others happy as well.
Yep. So that's what we've done over the lockdown. And from there, once we got them to start speaking, then we pretty much challenged them and say, hey, can you get on a young leaders challenge and do something for the world? Sometimes we just feel like, we are the saddest little people on earth. Everyone is having a problem and our problem is the greatest. But when you move from that self-pity mode into a mode saying, as a leader, can you do something for the country? And it's just amazing. These kids blew our mind off. They started their own company. They've written their own book.
This is so cool. I mean, just to point out, Purvesh is the author of the book Brian's Journey Towards His Dream. He's 7 years old and he finished writing this book in less than 7 days. And to see all of this and knowing that all of these people, they're talking about so many awesome stuff, and they're really, instead of, like Mom said, instead of just caring about their academics, they do that as well as help the world out. So that's absolutely awesome.
And the best part is we were able to
interrupt here for a moment for all the viewers to understand the magnitude of what they just said. Here is a 7-year-old who has written a book. He's an author. And I think this is amazing. How many of you viewers agree to this, that this is amazing? Please go ahead and type amazing in the chat box. Because I think what you are doing, Sharmila and Ashlie, that's amazing. Because I've never seen a 7-year-old at the age of reading books. He's authoring books. And I think that is amazing. So yes, please go ahead and thank you.
Superb. Yeah, it just blew our mind off, Abhay. And look at the number of kids. This is just one mastermind that we're sharing. We've been doing it for the last 22 weeks. And it's just been amazing. We can actually stop sharing. And of course, that's us wanting to create a million smiles and just having fun.
Yep.
Wow. I again, I have to say this. We have so many people who are typing in right now. Amazing. We had Shaheen who's writing amazing. We have Devanya. We have Sneha. Now, Sneha Valsangkar is my mom. And my mom is very, very happy and excited to be here. And she's attending it. And this is a cue for all the viewers. This is not just for you to, sit back and attend and listen. I want you to ask questions, because not often do you get a deadly duo, which you can ask harsh questions. I've got a list of questions which are very awkward to talk to your parents, and I want to ask them in a moment. But I encourage all of you as viewers to go ahead and bombard in the comment section whatever question that you have. How do you deal with your child? If you are a child or a teenager, how do you deal with your parents? How do you bring up those sensitive topics? Go ahead and type that, and I'll put up that question in front of them. Okay. So yes, let us go ahead. Yeah. So can I take the first question? You can go ahead and share. Is that okay?
Shoot.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. As Sharmila is like, all aaj to aa jao, aaj to hai boss.
We're ready. We're prepared and ready.
Excellent. Super. Okay.
Keep it possible.
Excellent. Great. Superb. So the first thing is that, when a teenager grows up, the teenager models everything. A child typically, when it grows up, it models everything that the parents do, right? So there are certain things wherein parents need to be equally responsible, because child is going to model what they do. Because as we have heard, children do what you do and not what you say. So the first question is that, people give a lot of, gali wo kehte current generation ko, कि कैसा generation है यार, क्या हो रहा है, as we are going ahead, they are all going down. But they forget कि यार किसने बड़ा किया इनको? You know, who are the ones who have grown this generation? It's nothing but the parents. So what do you think that when people blame the current generation or the generations to come, how important is it for the parent to realize the duty of a parent first? So what would be your take on that before we go ahead into the hot stuff, as you say? This would
Sure.
be
I actually have a backstory for this, Abhay. I love telling stories. You know, I wanted to cut Ashley's nails. She was 3 years old. You know, I put her on my lap and said, "Come, beta, let me cut your nails." And just the same way, she looked up at me and she said, "You haven't cut your nails."
Yeah, she still doesn't cut her nails.
So the point is, children are never ever going to listen to you, but they are always going to follow you.
Yeah.
Ashley, do you have a take on that?
Absolutely. I'm telling you, when I was in 6th standard and when we had a horrible relationship with each other, my mom, she'd come back home and, she'd obviously be super tired. And I think somewhere what, Abhay, you were talking about us modeling our parents, it was super true because, I guess at that time I used to act tired as well. But there came a time when my mom, she started an initiative where she was helping underprivileged children get education and placement in, in hospitals. And when I saw that and I saw how many girls she was inspiring, I remember thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I want to be just like her. And me being the impatient person that I am, I wanted to start working with her right away. So I remember, asking her for an internship at her company. She gave it to me. She made me, work hard. And I think that was where our whole journey started. And it's because she inspired me to take action.
Perfect. That's the key there, Abhay. Instead of instructing children, if we can inspire children, then they are just going to be unstoppable.
Absolutely great. I love this word which you said, which is inspire. So for all the viewers, please go ahead and mention this word inspire in the comments, because I totally agree with you, that we need to be inspiring as parents and not just someone, dictates terms to the children. So
Yes.
The second question, this is for Sharmila. So, a lot of time today we are in the culture wherein there's a lot of pressure on you. So when you grow up as a child, there is pressure of academics. Then when you enter the age of being, responsible, pressure of job. Then comes the pressure of marriage. And then comes, when you're married, the pressure of having a child. So for all the viewers who are in that phase currently, when do you recommend, Sharmila, would be the right time for someone to think of, becoming a parent? Because this is what I heard in what I read, and I heard in an article also, that if a child is born in 2020, then by the time the child is 24, we are going to spend more than 80 lakh rupees on the child for the education, for the home and the expenses and the food, etc. So when do you think it's the right time for a couple to then think of having a child? Please go ahead.
I'm interested.
Abhay.
Nice question. I love the fact that you brought fire to the questions, because this just became so interesting.
Okay, Abhay, first of all, I am guilty. I am not someone who should be answering this question, because I fell in love when I was 16 years old. I got married when I was 20 years old. And I had my child when I was 22 years old. And that is 16 years back, okay? But right now, things are so different. It's each person's decision is what I would say. Somewhere, if we have our focus right on building ourselves and then doing what we are supposed to be doing and then going on into taking on responsibility would be an amazing thing. Because to me, like my guru says, having a child is a 20-year project. Unless that itself is too much, actually. I'm just waiting for the next 4 years when this project will grow. So the point is, it's a position of responsibility. Today, everything that I do, when I graduated in the US, that's where I was getting my MBA, and Ashley was back home in India watching me, and she called me and she said, "Mommy, I want to be like you one day." That is a huge, huge responsibility. So unless you're ready for it, don't get into it. But if you get into it, you know that 20 years, you need to be there unconditionally and make sure to give them nothing but the best.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like
so
the way how
cute.
Ashley is, getting into it. She's like, oh, okay. That's
I mean, I'm feeling good.
absolutely great. Thank you, Sharmila, for that. I think that was very insightful. So that lets go of the pressure that is mounted by the society. So the next one is a question for Ashley. Okay. So as we
Yes.
go ahead from being a child, then we go into the teenage. So there is a time wherein the first phase of our life we want parents for everything. आप मेरे को उठा के लो या मेरे को आपके साथ ही रहना है. You go back to your mom, you go back to your parents. But then when you become a teenager, suddenly you want your space. You're like, I want my own privacy. Why are you interfering? You go, I want this, I want that. So how was that transition for you, Ashley? And then Sharmila, how did you handle that? Because when you reach the age of maybe puberty and beyond that, so certain things change and you need your own privacy and you don't want interference. So how did you deal with that, Ash? And then we go to Sharmila for the same. So yeah, please go ahead.
I mean, I have so much to say at this.
I'm waiting.
Okay, so I guess the whole teenage thing, and obviously it's not new. It's as a teenager, or when you become a teenager, there's so many things that you're exploring, and I mean, YouTube and Instagram and everything is there, and you kind of start getting into social media at that point, and definitely that's when you start understanding that you can be independent as well. And honestly, I think like mom used to say, in the beginning when that happened, when I was about 13, 14, there was a lot of friction in our family as well, like between me and my mother. And the reason being was that me and her weren't on the same page about a lot of things. Like, I remember my mom, she used to freak out every time I used to talk about a boy, even if it was just like a friend who was a guy. I mean, I guess for parents, or this is what I've learned, is that parents are pretty possessive of their children, and when they, I mean, obviously when you become a teenager, it's like sometimes it's a bit hard to let go. Is that correct?
Totally.
Absolutely. But what helped with us is every time I sensed that there was some sort of like friction, or when she sensed it, we would just sit and talk. Like even if it took 4, 5, 6 hours to sort out, we'd put our phones aside. Even if it meant not going to sleep, we would do that. And whatever it was, there's nothing that a conversation can't solve. Like, I mean, it's simple. Like parents, they're worried. Kids are a little worried. We want our freedom. And like Abhay said, if we're able to find a middle ground where we can come and meet, then where, as a child, you're happy, and as a parent, they're happy, then it's all good.
Yep. Okay, let me take it up from there. I always used to have this mind block that said, I have to be a perfect mother, and Ashley has to be a perfect child, and everything has to be perfect. And that was recipe for disaster. It was just never there. And then finally, during one of our learning journeys, my mentor, Mr. Blair Singer, just looked me in my eyes and said, you know what, lady, you're never going to be perfect. And stop expecting perfection from your child. And it was a moment of, it was a wow moment.
I'm so thankful for that moment.
So it actually changed my perspective. And the fact was, I was never perfect as a teenager. You still ask my mom, she will give you 100 stories of how bad I was. So the point is, once I accepted that I'm not going to be perfect and Ashley is not going to be perfect, it took that pressure cooker off my head. Yeah. And second, like Ashley said, for everything, when we had our hot conversations, we just sat down. We've written about it in our book, I Misunderstood. We just sat down, started having conversations. And Ashley also started understanding why I was reacting the way I was reacting. And I was able to understand why she was reacting the way she was reacting. And we sort of hit a middle ground there.
Yeah, honestly, I think parents, for all the teenagers watching, I think they just want to be involved. So now, we literally talk about anything and everything under the sun. I don't think there's anything in my life that she doesn't know about. And when there's that trust and transparency between in the family, then it's just so much more easier and the pressure is off.
Absolutely.
I think this is again one of the biggest lessons that the viewers can take away, that you need to be honest about it. You don't have to hide, because the more you are hiding, the child is more curious and then wants to know more, and then that becomes a cause of concern. So thank you so much for that. How many of you got value from what they said? Please go ahead and type value in the comments, because I'm pretty sure I, listening to it, thought, yeah, this is tremendous value. So thank you so much once again for that. So now moving ahead towards the next part. So a lot of times, when you have cousins or when you have siblings, the parents tend to compare amongst each other. Ki, Are Sharma ji ka ladka, the typical example which they give. And then they think the more marks that you get, the brighter you. So here's the question to you that I would like to ask, because I know that you have chosen, and Ashley has also chosen homeschooling and that alternate education as a way ahead. So here's a question: if there is a parent who's worried about child's marks, what would be your take on that? What would you say to it about them? Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, what would you say about that?
Oh my God, Abhay. Okay, guys. Okay, listen. Okay, I'm a medical doctor. Okay, MBBS. I first did MBBS, then I did MPhil, then I did MBA, then I did MD pharmacology, and then I continued to learn. Okay, so that's my background, and my family is filled with doctors. Okay.
Yeah, I think the only people who aren't doctors are me and my two cousins who are 5 years old and 3 years old.
Okay, so when Ashley comes back to me and tells me, first thing she told me when she went into 9th standard is, I'm dropping science and I want to take business. And I'm like, wow, that it was a moment for me to accept and
She was
process.
She was like Statue of Liberty for a good 2 minutes.
Yes, and then I had to tell her, you know what, babes, I don't know anything about that. If it is medicine, then I can help you out. But if it's something else, then only one thing that I tell you is whatever you're taking, you become the best in that. Then take it. And she's like, okay, that's my responsibility. And she took it up. And the best part is she finishes that 10th grade, gets good grades, comes there, and then tells me, Mom, I have a mission. I want to be homeschooled because I want to reach out to a lot of people and go ahead. And that was like pretty much, something came crashing on my head, and I was like literally, sitting like that. But the fact is, academics is a part of life. It's not the entire life. And it's really sad that in India, especially, we put so much of pressure on our children that statistics, we are leading. I mean, we have the largest adolescent population between the ages of 9 and 19. And India is leading South Asian countries in teen suicide rates. And most of the times, it's academic pressure, and it's okay is what I would say. Academics is not the end of life, and it shouldn't be that way. So these days, children have so many options. I mean, in fact, when I was growing up, all that I heard was, you go to a good school, ma, you study, ma, you get good marks, ma, then you go to a good college, ma, and after that, you get a good job, ma, and you're set for life. And today, everyone has lost their jobs. Then what?
Yeah.
So it's just a part of life.
Yeah, I think the education system is like one T-shirt, and that's not something that all of us can wear. There are some people who just need a different T-shirt and who can't fit into the same box. And I think that's honestly okay. I remember when I was in 7th grade, like I had tried everything. I had tried being good at academics. I had tried trying to sing, dance, act, whatever, okay? And I just remember feeling so useless because I was like, there's nothing that I can excel at that my friends are doing. Like, it's okay if you don't do well at studies, you can do extracurricular, but when you do all of these things and you still feel that way, that's how I used to feel. But I think it's all about exploring. I mean, public speaking is something that came up, and that's something that I fell in love with. And now we get to do so many cool things because of that. So I think as long as you have passion, you can do anything, and marks really don't matter at the end.
Yes, and the cherry on the cake there is, I still am figuring out what the hell I want to do with life.
Oh.
So it's okay.
I think that's absolutely great. For all the viewers, how many of you watching this would love to have a relationship with your daughter or with your son or with your parents the same way as they do? If you do, then please go ahead and type me in the comments, because this is just great. And the way you're speaking, it's like they're two friends who can speak anything under the sun, who can gossip, who can talk about absolutely anything. And I think that
We
is
do.
something that is great.
Yeah.
That's a great bond that you share. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so the next question is for Ash, and then again, Sharmila, you can jump in later with the take of a mother on it. Okay, so as we're talking about teen, so in the teen age, a lot of times we are exposed to certain elements which probably parents want to hide from us. So this includes, alcohol. This includes probably drugs. This includes smoking. This includes porn. This includes all these things which typically you want to shield and protect your child from. But what was your face, Ashley, when you went through this, when you saw your friends were getting into it and they were encouraging and asking you to go ahead? How was that experience for you? And then, probably when the first time you gave a gali, how was your experience, Sharmila, and how did you deal with that? And how should a parent deal with a teenage child who has given gali or was home drunk or, who has done something which we typically avoid? So yes, please go ahead. Masala is
Okay.
coming up.
Wow, I don't think we've spoken about this. Okay, cool. So I hate to break it to all the parents out there, but if you don't tell your children about sex, drugs, porn, whatever else, then someone else will. And I'm a perfect example for that. And that's because I was in third grade till that time, obviously my mom, we'd never spoken about any of this, okay? Clearly, you wouldn't think of speaking about any of these things to a third grader. But I remember clearly, I went to school and one of my friends, she took me, like she literally dragged me to the bathroom. We both sat in the same stall and she told me what sex was and what porn was. And it was because her older brother was watching it and she found out or something like that. And I remember coming back home and not telling my mother what happened. I very innocently, I went up to her and I was like, Mom, what is sex? And I remember my mom, kind of being taken aback, but thankfully she didn't lie or anything like that. She gave her own explanation. But I think it's really important for parents to talk about this to your children, because like I said, it's if not you, then someone else. And especially with our phones right now, there's nothing that we can't learn about. And a lot of the times there's a lot of misinterpretation and misinformation out there, and it's just better if you guys talk about it. With that said, wow. Obviously, being a teenager, I've had to deal with a lot of peer pressure, and there have been a lot of times where I've hung out with the wrong crowd and made decisions that I'm not proud of. But every single time, I think, my life could have been so different right now if it weren't for the fact that that I didn't speak to my mother. I remember one time just coming up to her and telling my mom that I want to change my life. I want to do something different and I need your help in it. And we have something called the Code of Honor that we have written down, and that just properly explains the things that are acceptable in this household, some things that are not acceptable, and we both created it together. So this is something that now both of us, we can follow and everything's good. But again, I think communication is so important. And yeah,
Absolutely. See, there was a time I used to be very scared of my parents, and there's so many things that I've done behind their back which I am not proud of too. When things like this came up, these were typically taboo topics that as parents we don't want to broach. It's difficult. I agree. I agree, and I'd rather not talk about it. But then, fact is, I want my daughter to understand what's right, what's not right from me than from someone else. So if I am closed about this topic, how can she come and talk to me? My simple thing, and my rebel statement to this is, if you can't talk sex with your child, how will the child come and talk rape with you? Okay, there's so many kids out there who go through the Me Too moments and they just suffer in silence. And unfortunately, even as parents, when we are there, we are not available for them, which is not right. Yeah. So when you start talking to them, what happens is you demystify this taboo topic, and suddenly it's like, oh yeah, honestly, boyfriend, it's okay, we can wait till we are 18 years. And
okay.
I just put one seed there.
That's fine. Okay. But I think she brought up
you are 16, you have 2 more years, so no boyfriend, okay?
Well, I'm 17 and like 28 days, so I'm looking forward to that.
It's just 1 more year.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, but I think what you touched upon is a really important topic, and that is, if it's not taboo, then, and if we're able to talk to our parents about it, then we won't have that element of surprise or wanting to go try something out, because it's like, I mean, what's the big deal in it? And and with the whole swearing thing, what do you have to say about that? I think so. This is obviously something that was there in our house. She knows that I swear, and that's something that are you okay with?
Actually, I think we have our boundaries that we follow. It's like, can someone be, again, the same concept of, can you be perfect? Can you just be everything right? No, there are going to be things that, it's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think as long as it was respectful, she's okay with that. And I haven't used it in, I mean, guys, you guys need to discuss this with your parents and set rules for yourself, and whatever that looks like for you, it's all good.
And we actually, that is part of what parenting does as well, is we help parents and teens come together and just take that emotion out of it and help you, put in those small understandings. We call it our little contracts that we have, and we are just respectful of one another. And we don't have this, I'm the mother, I'm right always, you're the daughter, you are down always. That's not there. We bring ourselves on the same platform. We have an opportunity to discuss stuff, and it's just fun.
I think this is absolutely great, because the way you're casually speaking of topics which parents, shake to talk to. They're like, okay, let teacher handle that in school. Teachers don't handle that in school. Nobody does. So where would the child go then? So I think what you have said is great. Better the parent than anybody else. And the way we come to know, it's better if it's the parents that they support. So this, for all the parents who are watching this, make sure that you're friendly and be a friend. That is actually very, very important. So if you agree to this, then please type yes in the comments, so I know that you are with me. So going ahead, we have around 15 more minutes of our time with us. So for all the viewers, this 15 minutes is for you to go ahead and ask questions in the chat box. Yes, Sharmila, you were saying something.
Yeah, there's one point here. It's like the parents suddenly feel that it's okay to give off children everything that they want, and they turn into a friend, which is also, it's like on the other side. Either you're too strict or you're too friendly. Somewhere hitting a balance is very important. So I like to call myself a friendly mom. So I will still play my roles and responsibilities of being a mom, but I will just do it in a way that is respectful to Ashlie and not just instructive to her. So we call this the GRT principle. We are grateful for one another in our lives. Second is we respect one another. And the third most important is that we trust one another. So that's how we hold each other's back there.
Absolutely.
Wow, this is great. The way you have again handled it is something which all the parents can take a cue about it, because these are things which we shy, and then we have two people who are discussing it live on air, and they're like, so what? It's normal. I think that is something that everybody can go ahead and take a cue from. So here's the next question, which will again go to Ash, and then we'll come back to Sharmila for that. Okay. So Ash, there is a possibility that a lot of parents feel that their unfulfilled desires or unfulfilled needs or their perception about their careers जो वो नहीं कर पाए, like for example in case of Dangal, कि यार मैं नहीं बन पाया तो आपको बनना है. So if there is a parent who's putting a lot of pressure on a child, then what does the child feel like? Was there a stance in your life when something was like this happened? So how would you react if parental pressure on a career choice is put on you? And then Sharmila, what would an ideal parent do for it? So yes, please go ahead.
Ah,
Okay, Ashley is
today
ready.
is my day. I am ready to spill some tea.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
So, this was there in my life because I tell you honestly, and she's mentioned, both my parents are doctors, both my grandparents are doctors, aunt, uncle, distant relative. I mean, you name it, we have that kind of doctor in our family, from cardiologist to pharmacologist. And me being me, I go into school and I'm okay at biology, but science was a subject that I absolutely disliked. And it was, I mean, you'd think that seeing all of these people inspired me, but honestly, no. But I guess what I loved about doctors as a profession is that they go out of their way to help people. But in my head, I just wanted to do it differently. I didn't want to go on the same path as them. But for me, it was just, I want to help people, but I want to do it on my own terms. And I think like what mom said about giving me like responsibility over my own education was so important. And I know my family wasn't the happiest when I told them that, I've taken up business and I'm doing commerce. But I think when she gave me that responsibility, I started being responsible for my education. And she didn't have to push me into studying or doing anything. But it was more me taking my own things seriously. But I think this is something that happens a lot. Either us as parents, they put their dreams on their children, and I get where they're coming from. The fact that they want their children to be secure and happy and have a good life. And us as kids, either we do that and resent our parents for the rest of our lives, or just do it on a whim, saying that, well, I mean, this is what I want, this is what they want, I don't really know what I want, but this is what I'm going to do. But again, it's all about just following your heart. I'm such a huge fan of that saying. And at the end of the day, you as parents, you want your children to be happy and successful. So whatever method they're choosing, I think if you guys are a team together, then you can make anything work.
Absolutely. Very well said, Ashley. Very well said. So my point here, guys, is it's just not fair to put your dreams on your children's heads and make them do it because you want to do it. Because either ways, one of two things only will happen. They will do it. Like she said, they will do it with that, that resentment inside, saying that this is not my dream, but I'm doing it for you. And for the rest of their life, they're just going to be cursing you. Or the second thing is they're just going to rebel against you for everything. And still, the point is both of you are not happy in that, because it's going to be a win-lose relationship, which is not worth it at all. I mean, we're sitting in a pandemic situation where life, what it has taught us is life is so precious. The moments are so precious. If you are able to get on the same team and try and understand what is it that you want to do, and the best part is it's okay to fail. It's not the end of the world. You take any successful person, all of we see the success, but we don't see the tons of failures that they've gone through. In fact, failure teaches you so much more. So as parents, if we can just be there, have these conversations, and the best part is put your child through not just academic education, but a lot of personal development, and put them in an environment where they are learning, and they're learning from other people, other peers. I mean, I call it my 3M method. One is you have to definitely have a mentor. Okay, sometimes children, okay, by the way, whatever I say, while we are very friendly and all of that, Ashley still has her mentors. The same thing I say, she will not listen. But when her mentor says, she says, okay, done. So that's a tip for you parents. If you really want your child on a particular path, then make sure you find them the right mentor. Number two is give them the right methods. It's like studying math. Okay, math was one subject that I just couldn't do. But when you have the right method, you can master the subject. So that's the second M. The third M is the mastermind. It's very important which community of other children that they are a part of. When you're positive and all the children are doing stuff, it's like, can a 7-year-old write a book? Yes, because he had the right mentor, he had the right method, and we put him in a mastermind which actually helped him grow as a leader. Instead of sitting in the lockdown and saying, the world is bad, or everyone is having COVID. So instead of looking at the victim mentality, when you put them in a leadership mode, children become unstoppable. That's my long story to the short question, Abhay.
I think it is very, very important that you explained it in a detailed way. And I think that is something which is, again, very, very helpful. So for all the viewers who, yes, agree to the fact that it was very helpful, please go ahead and type helpful in the comments. The only reason why I ask you to type is because I want to have a conversation with the audience also, because these are golden nuggets which you're getting from Sharmila and Ash. So the next question now is to Sharmila. We have last couple of questions only, and then we'll go to Ashley about it. Okay. So the first thing is, Sharmila, sometimes a child sees something, a child sees a dream, which only the child knows, but the child can't explain it to the parent. So the parent can't see what the child can see. So what can a parent do to support a child even when the parent is not convinced? To give you an example, to set your context, when I started the journey into the field of training, it was very difficult for me to help my parents understand the training, bolke, paisa, aise sab, but they were with me support throughout. Even now, if I choose to set up a studio, my mom is there supporting. She's like, let's do it. So she probably don't know that what goes into it, but she still supports 100%. She supports. So what would be your take to a parent who can't see what the child wants, but then should they support? How is it? What's your take on that? And then we'll have Ashley answer the same. Please go ahead.
Sure. Okay. I'm gonna just make this a little more spicy with my stories. Okay. I've had two type of people in my life. Okay. The number one is they're amazing people, but they're just very protective of me. They want to keep me inside the golden cage and say, no, baby, be careful. Don't step out. Be careful. Don't do that because it will hurt you. So be careful. And once I don't listen, then they say, you can't do it. And they challenge you to you. That's one sort of people. And the second are ones who say, come on, sit on my shoulder and see the world out there. There's so much that you need to do. Both of them are amazing in your life because the one who challenges you shows you that you are capable of much more. And the one who supports you tells you that you have the trust of that person. So you need to really push yourself to go forward. And the reason I'm sharing this is I remember having this conversation with Ashley. I just told her, baby, no matter what, I am in this journey with you and I trust you. Go for it. And I think that was the beginning of a relationship that changed because that one single trust saying, I know you can do it, sort of, it made it lighter for me and it actually helped propel her forward. Fact is, would I have thought that Ashley would be mentoring 8,000 children and helping them write books, and then all over the country I have people looking up to Ashley and having her guide was not even in my mindset. I didn't even think of it. It was just beyond my coverage area. Okay, so sometimes you just have to trust your children and be there with them. And like I always said, if they fall down and make a mistake, it's all right. You're still there not to help them.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, I think that us as kids were such good negotiators and speakers, and that's because we've been doing this ever since we could learn. We knew how to talk, whether it was convincing our parents to buy us a certain kind of toy or let us go outside with our friends. So I think I know there have been times where to explain something to my mother, I'd create full-on PPT presentations telling her what is this, why is this important, why do I need this, how do we do this, and we've just had fun with it. So I think again, if as long as our parents are open to listening to us as kids, we can also do the same thing and reach out to them and kind of find a middle ground.
Absolutely. And one thing that I am very particular about, children aren't entitled to anything. They need to earn it. And as parents, if we are there helping them, every little thing that they want, when you're there supporting them and showing them the way, it's amazing that you're paving a path for how the world or the community is going to be treating them when they turn adults. So it's really nice. It's like net practice with us.
Wow, again, very, very insightful. Thank you so much once again. So the last two questions before we go ahead and we have the closing comments from them. So again, I request the viewers, if you have question, go ahead and ask. So we have Radhika Desai. She's all the way from Chicago. So we have international audience also watching this live, which is absolutely great. So the next question this time is for Ash first and then to Dr. Sharmila. So Ash, when you grew up, was there a moment जहाँ पे मस्त थप्पड़ पड़े, मतलब ऐसे पीटा है मॉम ने या फिर मारा है? So, was that a part of your growing up? And then the follow-up question to Sharmila, who's already, hiding her face, that what do you think when children don't listen, should the parents hit the children? Because we have heard when we grow up, कहते हैं बचपन में दो थप्पड़ मारे होते सब सही हो जाता. So what's your take on that? We come to Sharmila later. First, Ash, how was your experience?
Okay, so I think honestly, I think as a smaller kid, if I didn't do homework or something, then she'd get angry and give me a light thappad. But as I grew older, I think like actual physical thappads don't hurt as much as verbal thappads, and I'll tell you what I mean. When you're a parent, especially my mom, she'll tell it as it is. So if I'm doing something wrong, or if I'm not living up to my potential, or if she knows that I'm half-assing something, then she'll call me out like that. She's not going to sugarcoat it and be like, oh, it's okay, this, that. She'll be like, well, I mean, you committed to doing something, you're not doing it, and that's not right. So I think her calling things out as it is, a lot of times that's happened. And in the beginning, I'd obviously be angry and I'd be like, well, she doesn't understand me, this, that. But when I go back to my room and I'd actually think about the conversation, obviously, honestly, what she said is probably right. So we'd go back and we'd sit and talk about it. But I think honesty is the biggest slap of all, and sometimes you just need a dose of reality and honesty, and oh my goodness, you're going to hold this against me, aren't you?
Not at all, but I'm like, I've got you on camera now.
But yeah, honestly speaking, this is so much, I mean, reality.
Yes.
Sometimes you just have to face it.
Absolutely. So, well, I am guilty. There have been times where I've actually lost my cool and I've given Ashley her due and actually felt very bad about it.
Yeah,
frankly.
Good.
No,
very good.
And I'm actually sorry, darling.
Aww.
Okay, so I'm also on camera apologizing to you. Sometimes as parents, when we can get down from the pedestal and just be, we have our moments when we lose it. But when we get down and talk to them and say, I'm really sorry, this is not what I meant, but can we make this better? When we have these negotiating conversations, it becomes really nice. And the best part is, the same thing when it happens with someone in our workplace, we just don't go and slap people. I mean, if we slap them, we are out of the job. There we go and say, yes, sir, yes, madam, yeah, sir, no problem, I will do it. So we are the sweetest person outside. And when we come back home, we just take our children and our parents for granted, which is not okay. I mean, and am I perfect? Not at all. I have my work in progress area. So that's why I call myself work in progress mom. We just have to keep improvising and going. And it's very important to have these honest conversations and call out children, because that's where, I mean, I actually also see Sahini's question. Let's talk about it a little later. Sometimes it's very important to talk to children and tell them that this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, and hold them to consequences also. Two things, you need to have celebrations when they do something really well, whatever little thing. When you bring in celebration, children really want celebrations. They love it. So celebrate their wins. And when they are not doing things properly, instead of actually making them feel bad, talk to them in private and tell them why you don't like certain things. What are the consequences? So when you have these conversations, you take the emotions and the anger and everything out of it, and it becomes very logical. So what I do is, when I'm like really angry with something, I note down my points why I don't accept to certain things, and I tell her to give me reasons for that.
It's like a debate, guys. I mean, she prepares it, and it makes sense because I understand what she's saying, and obviously we can correct ourselves when we're wrong. But I think there's a really cool question here as well. Do you want to answer that?
Okay, it's like, okay, can you
yes.
out the
okay,
question,
so
actually?
In the age of gadgets, basically his daughter has used the mobile phone to put a status on WhatsApp of her certificate, and she was told by someone to not do that because of her age. She basically said that all her friends do that, and this is, I mean, it's the age to compare things. How do you handle that?
Okay, so again, conversations, Sahin, actually helps. If you feel something is not all right, then if I were in your position, I will list down my reasons why I think it's not all right, and I will have this conversation with my daughter. And it's natural for people to compare, but there are also people who are above you who you can compare to. You know what I mean? It's like children her age are doing so many things. So can you actually inspire her to do a lot of things? And if there is a certificate that she is proud of, as parents, when you are also proud of it and you're sharing it, suddenly that whole thing changes around. Okay, so I'm not sure if I answered your question right, but the point is, celebrate her victories, and wherever she needs to be spoken to, have a conversation, and make sure that when she is breaking the rule over and over again, she comes up with a consequence of how to handle it.
Yeah, I think this is something that happened in my life. Something's different, a little different, and that was, I think I was in about 6th standard, and all of my friends started having Instagram accounts. So I knew that this was something that my mom wouldn't like. So it was something that I went behind her back and I created an account like that. And I mean, she found out clearly, and she wasn't too happy about it, but we sat down and we spoke about why I did it. So obviously I explained it, and after that we came to a middle ground where she was like, okay, I'm going to monitor your account. Tell me before you post something. And she gave me a whole list of things like, don't accept random people's requests, and obviously for you it might be different, and as a parent I think you have the ability to put a rule, but as long as you explain why the rule is there, we'll be fine.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think this is great, and I hope, Shaheen, that answers your question. If it does, then please go ahead and give us a feedback in the comments. So we have one more question from Devina. So I request Sharmila, can you please go ahead and address that too? I'll put it on screen for you.
Yes, Devina asked, maybe know what explanation you gave to the child. What is sex? Sex is two people actually coming together. Okay, and in the current situation, it happens either before marriage or after marriage. There are consequences to it as well. So it's like Ashley said, if we are not talking about it, someone else is talking to the child about it. So it's not like I directly go and talk to Ashley about sex. I just use, we watch a movie together, someone is kissing, then we just talk about it.
This used to happen before. Now we just make fun of it.
Absolutely. See, the point is, it's very important because children are born in the technology era. There's so much of peer pressure outside, right from nudes to porn to so much. I mean, so much. I remember that there used to be this blue whale challenge, and I was
just scared. Like, I mean, every time I pick up my phone, you'd see like the fear in her eye. And I remember one time she kind of broke down. She started crying, and she's like, well, I mean, there's this challenge going around, and I just want you to know that you can talk to me about anything. And I mean, it's all about transparency. So
Precisely.
She gave me a good definition.
Yes. So the point here is, when we have a normal conversation and not too sugar coated, one, you remove the the curiosity behind it, and when you actually give the gory behind what and all happens, children actually understand. So Devina, have a conversation. Just talk to your child. Use opportunities to talk to them so that they can come back and be confident and talk to you also.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. And I hope, Devina, that answers your question. If it does, again, let us know in the comments. We already had Shaheen, whose question was answered, and she has mentioned that thanks a lot to both of you. And if my query has been answered. So thank you so much, Sharmila and Ash, for doing that. So the final question before we take the closing comments from your end. So as you mentioned about, the whole digital wave that has now come in because of the lockdown, coronavirus, everybody is online. But then being online also in the teenage leads to an addiction of being too much on Instagram, sharing too much on Facebook, being too much on YouTube, being on TikTok. Thankfully, TikTok is banned. Playing too much PUBG. Thankfully, PUBG is banned. So the point being, how do you deal with addiction? First, we go to Ashley. That were you addicted to maybe Instagram, Snapchat, or something like that? And then we come to Sharmila. That how do you deal if your child is addicted to something online or in general addicted to something? So yes, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So
I love it.
it's fine. Okay. So I'll tell you the honest truth. When I first got my phone, I mean, I was 24/7 on it, and it was just not good. Like, I used to get headaches, my eyes used to hurt, and a lot of those things. And I used to be on Instagram, Facebook, not Facebook, just Instagram, and things were pretty bad. And here's what changed, okay? Here's what changed. When we started our own company, Parenteening, now we run all our courses on WhatsApp, and that's where we interact with the students, and I love doing that, and that's something that I have to do. And after I finish doing that, I just don't feel like picking my phone up. It's just in myself, I've kind of realized what too much phone time is, and it's all about replacing certain bad habits with better habits. That's what we teach our students. I used to love reading books, and after that, obviously, I got a phone and I stopped reading as much. And when my mother and I we realized that, I started setting myself a time limit. So less than 2 hours on the phone, and the rest of the time, obviously, even right now, I spend either spending time with her or reading a book. And I'll tell you something here, okay? If you think kids are addicted to phones, then parents.
She just caught me at this. The point is,
here, Ashley is always on the phone, and that's why Sharmila is saying, "Oh, acha, all this. What do you do then?" And
Yeah.
you get what happened.
So,
okay,
yeah.
let me just be truthful here. Look at my phone time. Okay, 6 hours
my God.
on my phone. I wouldn't have shared that, but before we go ahead and tell our children what they should do or they shouldn't do, somewhere an introspection to understand, are you doing the right thing? Okay, it actually takes a lot of courage to come out in the open and share that I am wrong. But the fact is, when you start correcting yourself, automatically your children start correcting themselves as well. So what we've started,
it goes the other way around too.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we find activities to do together. We have our date nights.
Yeah,
we actually painted this whole wall. We took time and we painted it. So we just, we started enjoying with one another and not really sitting and finding fault with what's happening in the world. Yeah.
Honestly, I think right now, because we're bored, our first instinct is to pick up our phone. But right now, I mean, we started cooking together. That's something that we've never done before. And painting. So there are a lot of other things that you can do sitting at home. It's just about finding it and working on that.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's great. How many of you agree that the wall that you see behind them is absolutely beautiful? If you do, please go ahead and type beautiful in the comment box. That's absolutely great. Superb. So to wind up the closing comments from your end, this is a little tricky comment which I want you to make. It's on a simple question, which first I would request Ashley to answer and then Sharmila. So Ashley, imagine this. Out of the 7 billion people in this world, all the teenagers, whoever are there in this world, say 2 billion, 3 billion, 1 billion, whatever it is, if all of them are listening to you right now, what would be your 30-second message to them? And the same question would then go to Sharmila. that if all the parents in the world, say 1 billion, 2 billion, whatever they are, if they are listening to you right now, what would be your 30-second message to all the parents? First, we go to Ash for the teens, and then we go to the parents for Sharmila. Please go.
Okay. Wow. First of all, I want to say hi to all the 3 billion teenagers that I'm talking to. But my only message to you would be no matter what you're going through right now with your parents, whether you're fighting every single day, or whether you think that there's some people that you can't get along with, trust me, your relationship with your parents is worth saving. And as someone, I lost someone very close to my family once, and I saw her children growing up without a mother, and that kind of, I mean, still is something that I'm coming to terms with. So when you have something, you can't take it for granted. You just need to be grateful for yourself as well as your parents. And all the parents watching out there, number one, don't take yourself
Too seriously. Not worth it. Okay. Don't stress over stuff. Not worth it. But one thing that I really, really want to tell you is remember the first time you held your child in your hand and how beautiful you felt. Every time something doesn't go right, remember that moment and feel so grateful, and immediately the whole scenario changes. And when you approach your children from a place of love and gratitude and trust, your relationship is just going to be beautiful. And no matter what, whether they are angry or whether they are upset, that's just a cry for help. They love you and they need you. Just be there for them.
Great job.
I think the closing statements from your end were something that gave me goosebumps. That's absolutely great. So thank you so much once again, Dr. Sharmila, and thank you so much, Ash, for being there, giving your valuable time. And for all the viewers, if they want to be connected with you even after this call, so how do they find you and where do they find you? What can they do to be in connection with you?
We'll give you all our links, Abhay. We are there, very active on Facebook. Every Thursday, we have a Facebook Live. We're just talking about everything under the sun. So come and join us. We also have a public speaking mastery Facebook group for children. Over 4,300 people there. Come be a part of it. The point is, let's make this world a better place to live in. And the best gift that the best gift that I have is this little one out here.
So sweet.
Being a mom has been the best in my life, and I would never replace it for anything at all. So go ahead and enjoy your journey, guys. That's very important. And remember to create those million smiles.
Absolutely great. This is amazing. And at the end also, when you had a sweet little moment there with your daughter, that is something I think which shows the way that you handle her. And that's absolutely great. For all the parents or the teens who watch this right now and are live, we have still people who are live watching us. Please go ahead and let us know in the comments, how did you find the session? Did you learn? Did you get some value? And if you learned a lot, if you got a lot of value, then please go ahead and type it in one word or one sentence that how did you feel? If you got value, go ahead and type value. So thank you so much once again, Sharmila and Ash, for being here. And this video will stay forever on YouTube, on Facebook. And personally, of all the masterclass which I have done, if I would want everybody to see some masterclass, it would definitely be this one. So thank you so much for being here. And it's an honor once again to have you on this show. So thank you so much. So this is a final statement from my end for all the viewers also who joined in right now. Thank you so much for joining in. And very honestly, I'm going to come back with another case of masterclass with someone very, very special. So till that time, make sure you keep watching videos on this channel and subscribe to this channel and share this video with a lot of parents and teenagers so that they can also learn and get a lot of value from that. So if you have learned and had a lot of fun, then please go ahead and show some love in the comments and do like this video too. So thank you so much and take care. I wish you a very safe journey ahead in your life. Thank you so much once again. Thank you.